Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be getting into these are financial discussion topics in regards to trending topics pertaining from point of view from women and point of view from men. And there's going to be a consecutive several videos that are going to be coming back to back. This one right here is the first one from the perspective of women that I had did a search on, and this is in regards to the motherhood penalty and the crisis of childhood costs. So don't mind I'm reading some of my notes, and I'm going to get into the general discussion, my point of views in regards to that in a moment. But this is generally a topic that is, out of I did a top five searches of trending financial topics for women from the age of 20 to 40. I also did the same for men, which will be coming up in a moment. But and this is one of the topics that came up. So it says this is when most of their money goes to childcare for women, as far as they're in the working field, and most of their expenses and their money goes straight to childcare. The question then becomes, is it worth it? Is it worth it to work when the money goes all to childcare? Time off, one of the penalties of this is that time off halts income, dampens retirement contributions, compound interest, and career trajectory. So obviously this becomes a question where a lot of women face that as an issue in regards to that decision. Some of the things that they point out here as far as the key discussion point is, how do we calculate the true long-term costs of stepping away from the workforce? What structure changes or employer benefits like subsidized care actually move the needle? So, and then actionable angle, it says navigating the financial logistics of childcare years, quote in quotes, childcare years, out of quotes, without completely stalling retirement growth. So that's definitely something that I would definitely say that is where it's definitely a challenging question. And I think a lot of this and a lot of topics that I'm going to come across dealing with finances are going to bring into question, I feel, the issue of a lot of these point of views that are being spoken of, whether it's men or women in these different topics, is really going to focus around the idea of the singular person. I think what makes it challenging for a lot of these, and I'm gonna bring this up on all the topics that are gonna be coming up shortly after this video, all the other financial topics coming up from the perspective of men or women, is that a lot of that comes into play with the economy is becoming more challenging, but also too, this directly relates to relationships, in that a big aspect of tackling the economy is partnership and tackling it together, because we've moved away from the single household income being able to handle everything, where now you kind of need two incomes to handle almost anything. So coming back to this concept of motherhood penalty and the crisis of childhood costs, as far as ways around it, or as far as, like, first off, like I said, it is a discussion. That's the point of doing the research and find out it is a discussion. Navigating around it is really one of those things where there's really no easy answer to it, to be honest with you, other than to say working something out with the father of the children and having a partnership in regards to child, taking care of the child and whatnot. Now, I think that this brings into discussion, like I said, it's always going to go back to a concept of relationships and whatnot, in the sense that if you are not with that person anymore, it's always best in the interest of both, you and the child or children, to not burn that bridge with the father. Often what happens is, when the guy is, a really bad choice, there seems to be this kind of dynamic of, I don't want to bother him. When the guy seems to be very, like, I want to be there for my kids, this and that, it tends to be this dynamic of, I want to hurt him. And I don't know why that is the case, but it seems to be the case. A lot of people see that to be the case. And I want to dial back to say that your biggest asset in regards to moms in this type of situation, in this question, your biggest asset is the guy. And if the guy is someone who wants to be there for the children, that is really your answer for this situation. But you also don't want to have a dynamic where you push that guy through the ringer and you try to hurt them, and then now you realize this is the solution, because this is the solution. Being able to have him be around with the children and be able to, actually take up that burden of childcare, but sometimes that also would include, especially if you are this independent person who's trying to navigate the financial world, not trying to weigh on them with child support and this and that, because it's the purpose of child support is not just so you have extra money to spend or whatever the case is. It's supposed to take care of the fact that if the father is absent, if the father is willing to be present, you can't double dip on that burden. So I would say in that situation, if you are one of those people who are in this specific scenario, you are independent, you're trying to pursue a career or whatnot, don't lean on taking the father of the children for child support, but instead lean on him to have more time, especially if he wants to be there. And say, here, that way you're limiting childcare completely. You're eliminating that cost completely. You say, listen, like, can we work out a schedule where, maybe if I'm working the daytime, as far as the woman, if she's like, I'm working the daytime, if you're working a nighttime schedule, can we work that out? We do the flip-flop thing, have this kind of cohesive home dynamic with each other where the children are happy in both scenarios, both places. And in that case, it eliminates the burden of childcare, which, is able to, then allow you to kind of pursue your career, as far as like, like we said before, that weight of childcare taking up so much. Now, this is another thing though, and this goes into another topic I'm going to get into at a later time, in terms of what does child support actually take care of. Now, this is separate from this conversation as far as this point, but I want to show that it does relate in the fact of if child care, especially if a woman is going to work, child care is not part of child support. And so a person is then, unfortunately, I don't think this is correct, I don't believe in this, but is able to demand more outside of child support for that. And I'm going to get into that into another video about what child support actually covers, because I think in itself it's kind of wrong in the amount that it can drain from a person, from another human being. But a person might think that that is an answer to it, but down the long run, I think it causes more problems, because the financial hardship of, even in this specific topic of not having somebody there to be able to watch the kids whenever you need, is a larger benefit if you have that person, that dynamic. So that's really the answer to this question of this topic. Post your thoughts down below in the comments, what you guys think, as far as like, women, have you experienced this? Is it a big deal? Is it a big burden? How does that go for you? Are there other answers? A lot of people lean on family, but I think the better answer is leaning on the person who is destined to be in the kid's life forever, if assuming that you have that dynamic or are not halting that dynamic with the father of the kids. But once again, this is one of the topics that I looked up. There's going to be many more to come in regards to finances. Stay tuned for those videos. And as always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.